Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna to everyone. We are continuing with Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta Adi Lila chapter 5 verse number 67. Aganyananta yata anda sanivesha tatarupe purusha kare sabate prakasha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Purusha enters each and every one of the countless universes. He manifests himself in as many separate forms as there are universes. Text number 68. I'll read till 83 and then we'll discuss it. Purushana sateya be bahiraya swasa nishwasa sahite haya brahmanda prakasha. When the Purusha exhales, the universes are manifested with each outward breath. 69. Punarapi shvasaya be pravishe antare shvasa saha brahmanda paishe purusha sharire. Thereafter, when he inhales, all the universes again enter his body. Purport. In his form as Karanodakshaya Vishnu, the Lord impregnates material nature by his glance. The transcendental molecules of that glance are particles of spirit or spiritual atoms which appear in different species of life according to the seeds of their individual karma from the previous cosmic manifestation. And the Lord himself, by his partial representation, creates a body of innumerable universes and again enters each of those universes as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. His coming in contact with Maya is explained in the Bhagavad Gita by a comparison between air and the sky. The sky enters everything material, yet it is far away from us. 70. Gavakshera randhera yena trasarenu chale purushera lomakupe brahmandera jale. Just as atomic particles of dust pass through the openings of a window, so the networks of universes pass through the pores of the skin of the Purusha. Yasyaika nishvasita kalam athavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagat andanatha Vishnur mahan sa iha yasya kala vishesho govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Brahmas and other lords of the mundane worlds appear from the pores of Mahavishnu and remain alive for the duration of his one exhalation. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom Mahavishnu is a portion of a plenary portion. This description of the Lord's creative energy is from the Brahma Samhita 5.48, which Lord Brahma compiled after his personal realization. When Mahavishnu exhales, the spiritual seeds of the universes emanate from him in the form of molecular particles like those that are visible 3 times the size of an atom when sunlight is diffused through a small hole. In these days of atomic research, it will be a worthwhile engagement for atomic scientists to learn from this statement how the entire creation develops from the spiritual atoms emanating from the body of the Lord. 72. Kavaham tamo mahad aham khakaragnivarbhu samveshtitanda ghata sapta vitastikayah vedrik vidhaginanda paranucharya vatadvaroma vishvarasya chate mahitvam. Where am I, a small creature of 7 spans, the measure of my own hand? I am enclosed in the universe composed of material nature, the total material energy, false ego, ether, air, water, and earth. And what is your glory? Unlimited universes pass through the pores of your body, just like particles of dust passing through the opening of a window. Purport. When Lord Brahma, after having stolen all Krishna's calves and cowherd boys, returned and saw that the calves and boys were still roaming with Krishna, he offered this prayer, Bhagavatam 10.14.11, in his defeat. A conditioned soul, even one so great as Brahma, who manages the affairs of the entire universe, cannot compare to the personality of Godhead, for he can produce numberless universes simply by the spiritual rays emanating from the pores of his body. Material scientists should take lessons from the utterances of Sri Brahma regarding our significance in comparison to God. In these prayers of Brahma, there is much to learn for those who are falsely puffed up by the accumulation of power. 73. Amshira Amshaye Kala Tara Nama Govindera Pratimurti Sri Balarama. A part of a whole is called a Kala. Sri Balram is the counterform of Lord Govinda. 74. Tanra Eka Swarup Shri Mahasankarshana Tanra Amsha Purusha Haya Kalate Ganana. Balram's own expansion is called Maha Sankarshana, and his fragment, the Purusha, is counted as a kala or a part of a plenary portion. 75. Yanha Keta Kala Kahi Tinho Mahavishnu Mahapurushavatari Teno Sarvajishnu. I say that this Kala is Mahavishnu. He is the Mahapurusha, who is the source of the other Purushas and who is all pervading. Garbodhakshit Prodashai Donhe Purushanama Seidui Yanra Amsha Vishnu Vishwadhama. Garbhodakshai and Shirodakshai are both called Purushas. They are plenary portions of Karanadakshai Vishnu, the first Purusha, who is the abode of all the universes. Purport. The symptoms of the Purusha are described in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. While describing the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the author has quoted from the Vishnu Puran 6.8.59, where it is said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Purushottama, Lord Krishna, who is always free from the contamination of the six material dualities, whose plenary expansion Mahavishnu glances over matter to create the cosmic manifestation, who expands himself in various transcendental forms, all of which are one and the same, who is the master of all living entities, who is always free and liberated from the contamination of material energy, and who, when he appears in this material world, seems one of us, although he has an eternally spiritual, blissful, transcendental form." In summarizing this statement, Rupa Goswami has concluded that the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who acts in cooperation with material energy, is called the Purusha. 77. Vishnustu trini rupani purusakhyani atho viduhu ekam tu mahataha shastra dvitiyam tva anda samsthitam Tritiyam sarvabhutastam tani gnatva vimuchyate. Translation. Vishnu has three forms called Purushas. The first, Mahavishnu, is the creator of the total material energy, Mahat. The second is Garbhodakshai, who is situated within each universe. And third is Shirodakshai, who lives in the heart of every living being. He who knows these three becomes liberated from the clutches of Maya. This verse appears in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Purva 2.9, where it has been quoted from the Satvata Tantra. 78. Yadyapi kahiye tanre Krishne rakalakari Matsya Kurmadi avatarera tinho avatari. Although Karanadakshay Vishnu is called the Kala of Lord Krishna, he is the source of Matsya, Kurma, and the other incarnations. Text 79. Ete cham sakala pumsha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. All these incarnations of Godhead are either plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead himself. In every age, he protects the world through his different features when the world is disturbed by the enemies of Indra. This quotation is from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Verse number 80. Sei Purusha Shrishti Sthiti Pralayera Karta Nana Avatara Kare Jagatera Bharta. That Purusha, Karanodakshai Vishnu, is a performer of creation, maintenance, and destruction. He manifests himself in many incarnations, for he is the maintainer of the world. 81. सृष्टियादि निमित्ते ये अंशेरा अवधान सेता अंशेरा कही अवतार nama. That fragment of the Supreme Lord known as the Mahapurusha appears for the purpose of creation, maintenance, and annihilation and is called an incarnation. 82. Adi Avatara Mahapurusha Bhagavan Sarva Avatara Bija Sarvashraya Dham. That Mahapurusha is identical with the personality of Godhead. He is the original incarnation, the seed of all others, and the shelter of everything. Last verse for today, number 83. Adyovatara Purusha Parasya Kala Swabhava Sad Asanmanascha Dravyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani Virat Swarata Snu Charishnu Bhumanaha. Translation. The Purusha, Mahavishnu, is the primary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Time, nature, Prakriti as cause and effect, the mind, the material elements, false ego, the modes of nature, the senses, the universal form, complete independence, and the moving and non-moving beings appear subsequently as his opulences. Purport. Describing the incarnations and their symptoms, the Laghu Bhagavatamrita has stated that when Lord Krishna descends to conduct the creative affairs of the material manifestation, he is an avatar or incarnation. The two categories of avatars are empowered devotees and Tad Ekatma Rupa, the Lord himself. An example of Tad Ekatma Rupa is Shesha, and an example of a devotee is Vasudev, the father of Lord Krishna. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushana has commented that the material cosmic manifestation is a partial kingdom of God, where God must sometimes come to execute a specific function. The plenary portion of the Lord through whom Lord Krishna executes such actions is called Mahavishnu, who is the primal beginning of all incarnations. Inexperienced observers presume that the material energy provides both the cause and the elements of the cosmic manifestation, and that the living entities are the enjoyers of material nature. But the devotees of the Bhagavat school, which has scrutinizingly examined the entire situation, can understand that material nature can independently be neither the supplier of the material elements nor the cause of the material manifestation. Material energy gets the power to supply the material elements from the glance of the Supreme Purusha, Mahavishnu, and when empowered by him, she is called the cause of the material manifestation. Both features of material nature as the cause of the material creation and as a source of its elements exist due to the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The various expansions of the Supreme Lord who act to empower the material energy are known as plenary expansions or incarnations. As illustrated by the example of many flames lit from one flame, all these plenary expansions and incarnations are as good as Vishnu himself. Nevertheless, because of their activities in controlling Maya, sometimes they are known as Mayika or having a relationship with Maya. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.6.42. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna to everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So, as we know, this chapter is entitled The Glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. Mahavishnu. We have heard about Mahavishnu in the previous verses also. He is the one who glances over material nature and he creates innumerable universes when he is exhaling. And Garbhodakshai Vishnu enters into each universe. Now, these molecules of glands, they are called spiritual atoms. Srila Prabhupada explains it very nicely in one of his purports that these molecules of glances, they are spiritual atoms, and these spiritual atoms, they appear in different species as per their past karma, like we also. And when Mahavishnu inhales, all these universes enter into his body again. So the way it works is when he exhales, universes are created. We all come into the different universes. And then when he inhales, everything goes back into the body of Mahavishnu. And nice example Srila Prabhupada gives, even the verse explains that these atomic particles, they are like particles of dust, just like they pass through the openings of window. When we see there is sunlight and there is a little gap in the windows, we can see the dust going through that, and we can see that. So similarly, Prabhupada explains that the universes, they pass through the pores of the skin of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, in the form of Mahavishnu. And even the demigods, Brahma, Lord Shiva, they all appear from the pores of Mahavishnu. And as we read in the verses, the first Purusha avatar is Mahavishnu. Then from him comes Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Then from him comes Shirodakshai Vishnu. And all of them, they are considered to be Purushas because they are parts of the Supreme. And the Garbhodakshai Vishnu and Shirodakshai Vishnu, they are portions of Mahavishnu, who is also known as Karanodakshai Vishnu. If we study the Vishnu Puran, we will get more references about these three Vishnus. So when I was reading Prabhupada's purport also, who is a Purusha? You see, we are talking about Purushas, three Purushas. Who is a Purusha? And Rupa Goswami explains that the plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord who acts in cooperation with material energy is a Purusha. And verse number 77 gives reference about these three Vishnus. The Shirodakshai Vishnu, who is situated in the heart of every living entity, is called the Super Soul. And it is explained in one of the verses, if anyone can understand this or, know this, they become free from Maya. See, Maya is our enemy in this material world. Because of Maya, we are conditioned. And only when we detach ourselves from Maya, that's when we can remove that conditioning. So here is a secret formula how to become free from Maya. Srila Prabhupada, he mentions that the scientists should learn from, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta and the Vishnu Purana, how this creation takes place. In other words, they should be well versed in the scriptures. Then whatever they speak is going to be perfect. And we even read one of the verses, which is actually prayers of Lord Brahma. When he was meditating before creation, when he was meditating, he wanted to know, where am I? Because he was inside, right? Garbhodakshai Vishnu's lotus. There was a lotus flower, and in the stem, he was inside there. He was meditating and he was wondering, where am I? Actually, that should be our question. Where am I? Also, why am I suffering here in this? Why am I in the material world in the first place? And why am I suffering? You see, Lord Brahma, he is the secondary creator. He is thinking like that, where am I? And he's saying, I am so small, enclosed in the universe. You see, if we want to really understand who we really are and what is our importance, just imagine so many universes. Out of that, in one universe, there is one planet, earthly planet. In that planet, there is one, what is that called? One in one small country, then in one small city. In that city, there's one small subdivision in which there is one small house. In that, we are. We are so insignificant compared to the whole creation. So that is the thought process of Brahma. I am so small and I'm enclosed in these universes. If Lord Brahma is thinking he is so small, then who are we? We are insignificant. We are very, very small. So that is why Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to understand who am I, where have I come from, where am I, what's my position, and why am I suffering? How can I end this cycle of suffering? You see? But instead, most people, they think I am very important. I am the controller. I will control this one, that one, this situation, that situation. We are insignificant. If we think we are controllers, that means we are in Maya. Need to understand. Jivera Swarup hoy, Krishnara Nitya Das. We are eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. That is our constitutional position. We've heard this so many times. We've heard in all lectures, different lectures from different speakers, that we are not this body and we are not the controllers. But have we realized it? Do we practice it in our day-to-day life? And what is the glory of the Supreme Lord? We can understand through the scriptures. You see, there are unlimited universes they are passing through. It is actually beyond our conception. We cannot even conceptualize one universe or one planet or one country, one city. It's beyond our conception. So we can learn it theoretically, process it, try to understand, and then apply it in our day-to-day life, you see. So we see that these verses are actually prayers of Lord Brahma to Krishna when we have heard this pastime where he stole the cowherd boys and calves of Krishna and hid them away from Krishna. But when he came back within a second, he noticed that all of them are still there. So he got bewildered. And then he realized, oh, this little boy is not an ordinary boy. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see? And then he started offering prayers to the Lord. See? He said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I could not realize it. I was under the influence of false ego. You see? I was falsely puffed up. And this is what happens in the material world. People generally get falsely puffed up because of being very beautiful or very rich or very famous or very powerful, whatever. Sometimes people get puffed up of being renounced also. Look at me. I am so renounced. This is the thought process. So being puffed up is not a good idea at all because it will take us away from Krishna. If we want to go near Krishna, then all that false pride has to go away. I have seen sometimes devotees get puffed up of preaching. Look at me, how nicely I preach. Look how many souls I have touched. Look how many people have brought to Krishna consciousness. That's all pride. Preaching happens because of mercy of Guru and Krishna. It has nothing to do with us. So this is a very dangerous position to be puffed up about preaching. Very dangerous. You see? We are not the doers. Haven't we learned this from Bhagavad Gita? We are not the doers at all. Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha. Ahankar vimhudatma kartahamiti mane. Out of ahankar, out of pride, we think I am the doer. No, it's Guru and Krishna guiding us from within that we are able to do whatever we are doing. You see? So Srila Prabhupada is saying, even great personalities like Brahma, they cannot be compared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though Brahma is a secondary creator. You see, he has a big post, a big position, but it is the Supreme Lord that glances over material nature and the creation takes place. Actually, Prabhupada says the scientists can learn from Lord Brahma's prayers. You see, understand how this creation takes place. And one of the verses it is mentioned that Lord Balram's expansion is called Mahasankarshana. It's just his fragment. See? And this fragment, the Purusha, is counted as a kala or part of a plenary portion, which is Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu is called Kala of Krishna. That he's the source of different incarnations like Matsya, Kurma, and all other incarnations. But Krishna is the Supreme Lord who is the source of all incarnations, who's the fountainhead of all incarnations. And Srila Prabhupada talks about not only there's a verse that we read today, Ete Chamsa Kalapumsha, Krishna Astu Bhagavan Swayam. What a beautiful verse. Canto 1, chapter 3, verse 28. That gives us a reference that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he appears to remove all the disturbances that may be there. But Mahavishnu is his primary incarnation. So everything moving, non-moving, whatever appears as opulences. And Krishna, he appears in different incarnations. Now, in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada talks about two different kinds of avatars. One is Krishna comes himself, that's called Tad Ekatma Rupa, like Sheshanag. And or the second is where he sends empowered devotees like Vasudev, father of Krishna. In fact, Srila Prabhupada is also an empowered devotee. He has come to bless all of us. He has come to give us Krishna consciousness. He's come to give us the translations of these very, very important scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Caritamrta. These are all like a treasure house for us that help us to understand our position and also to help us break this cycle of birth and death and go back to the spiritual world. See? So Srila Prabhupada is an empowered devotee. And guess what? His translations, his purports, they are foolproof and they work. That is why even after so many years, we are here together. We are hearing the scriptures. See? In one of the purports, I remember where Prabhupada says, I've made so many malechas into brahmanas. Those devotees, his disciples, gave up everything. Why? Because Prabhupada made it so easy to go back to Godhead. His books, which are a treasure house, they are our saving grace. So if we read Srila Prabhupada's books scrutinizingly, then we can get rid of Maya. Then we will be able to follow the instructions of Guru and Krishna. But the choice is ours. We decide, what do I want? Do I want to remain attached in this material world, or I want to detach myself? So based on the choices we make, Krishna will help us. And based on that, whatever decision we take, we have to make a plan. We cannot live randomly. Not at all. Not randomly at all. We need to have a plan in place. Where am I? Where do I want to go? How do I reach my destination? This planning is required. You see, very, very important. So today's few verses that we took from verse number 67 to 83 in chapter 5, they are explaining to us about the three Vishnus and the importance of creation so that we can understand how creation takes place. It's not a big bang theory where there was a big bang and everything came into place. No, there is a process of creation. So, excuse me, I'm going to end here right now. This is where we end at verse number 83. So